are they talk? We're live, but it's going to take a bit. But like
Okay.
when they talk about it's cancer season, what does that mean? Is that like during cancer's month? Okay.
Yeah, it's the star sign of Cancer.
Okay. Well, I never really thought about it, but each time I only think about it like, okay, December Sagittarius, that's me. But I guess it would make sense if I guess I don't want to say if you believe in astrology, but if you follow you know, it would be like so in December during Sagittarius season, Sagittarius energy hits everybody. I guess it's
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So at the
right on.
moment, we're all kind of like probably feeling the emotions, and because Cancerians are known to suppress emotions and not necessarily express what's bothering them. Right? Because they're very loving and giving and nurturing, and they
They
want
are.
everyone to, yeah, they want everyone to be
But
okay. And so when it comes time for them to express what's going on for them, they usually avoid it, or they can avoid it, and then bottle things up.
yeah.
And then they've got all these emotions stirring inside of them, and they can potentially snap at times, right? Or you just will never know what a Cancerian is really feeling.
Both my parents are Cancer, and they're July 13th and July 20th, 3 years
Okay.
apart. So that's an interesting thing to consider what you just said. But
What's your star sign?
mine, Sagittarius. I'm Peter.
Ah,
I'm Peter Pan,
okay.
and there's 33 people in the house. But yeah,
Mm,
we were talking before the show, and you were saying, I don't know how you put it, but that you were diving deep. Um, you know, I guess bringing these deep things into your field, and I was saying a lot of people are doing it, but at the same time, I since the last 10 days, maybe longer. It was very like a lot of energy for it was like a whirlwind, and then for the last 10 days it's kind of still going, but I don't want to say it's winding down, but maybe it did. But there's this I can't really put it to words, but this beyond reverence, like this overwhelming thing is filling me up, going, wow, this is such an honor to be here. Like this shift is
mm.
going down, right? I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but
No, no, no. I think, for me at least, so we've got Saturn, the planet Saturn in retrograde, and
okay.
Saturn is the harshest of teachers out of all of the planets. He's here to teach you the big lessons, the maybe the brutal lessons that you don't want to look at. And so his lessons can be he'll leave you out in the cold, in the rain, with nowhere to sleep because you're not listening to them, you're not learning the lesson, right? Like it's brutal. But we've also got Neptune in retrograde, and Neptune is all about sitting in the discomfort or the consequences of your actions when you were once wearing rose-colored lenses.
Mm.
And so for me at least, these two planets in retrograde, it has been a very brutally confronting time. I don't know what other word to use, but it's been a very humbling time,
Yeah.
and it has
Yes.
made me very grateful for all that I've accomplished and all that I have.
Yes.
And I read that quote this morning: "You will have nothing, but you will be happy."
Yeah. See,
Right?
that's
And
that's what I was talking about. That word, or the words that would come to the one word I can't come up with, but there's a humility in it. There's like this.
mm,
There's this deep humility that I can feel it. It's been like a bowling ball, like coming from the sacral, like just I don't know how to say it. It's a bit mind blowing, but yeah, it's really got me excited. But also at the same time, I have a feeling that we're going to be going through some more stuff this month. Kind of the same cycle.
Yes, I think we're going to be. Yeah, so a lot of people have been saying that as well. Life's going to be intense forever.
Oh,
So
yeah, I love it.
we may as well fill our toolbox with some really good tools.
Life is ascension, really, when you think about it. If you think about it, every single day, every relationship, everything, you have a choice to either be responsible or not,
Yeah.
you know?
Can I tell you about this new program that I've been running? Because I think it's
Yeah,
my best one yet, right?
yes, absolutely.
We're working on Neville Goddard's law of assumption. The whole program I'm running is based on the law of assumption. Okay.
Okay,
And I stumbled across the law of assumption a couple of years ago. And I didn't even realize that I had been using this concept in my work already. Okay. And it's all based on, how you're creating everything. You are the creator of your own reality based on what you believe, what you think, what your programs are. You will attract people into your life that reflect back to you parts of yourself that either need healing or that are actually complementing you for your growth and all that kind of stuff. So in the last 2 years, I've really studied Neville Goddard more and really refined my teachings and really included it. And so in this program, I'm helping people collapse belief systems that they've had in place for the last 20, 30, 40 years. And their reality around them is beginning to transform.
yeah,
And it's fascinating because everything that we think or believe about ourselves to be true, we will experience in this reality.
that's right. And
You know?
everything that we think we're not, we will experience until we understand that is us too. And I don't
Absolutely.
even take that to like, oh, I murdered. I was an ex murderer in a past life, or I was this horrible person or that. I think energetically, we've all done it in this life.
Mm.
That's just my
Mm.
opinion. But
So what do you mean? So that it's
well,
all
just
up?
meaning like for me, it's like anything I think I'm not. I know I'm not going to be making any progress until I am that as well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what was it that I got the other day? I know what it was. So the Soulogy Fest got started with a bang, and then all this energy hit, and I go from Arkansas to Sedona, and so fast forward. I won't get into the whole story, but I got to this point because the mother energy has just been enveloping me. I mean, it's just been constant. It's still there. I just went to a swimming hole, and it was there. It was amazing. I took some video, but she said to me, "You need to go out and make this happen. Do it your way, being yourself. Anything less than that, you're going to get a kick in the ass. Be yourself. Don't apologize for doing it your way, even if it doesn't make sense and all this stuff, right?" So my human's going, holy shit. Like, I don't know, we gotta get this many tickets more, and I gotta coordinate this and coordinate that. Just the logistics, it's all good. We're doing very well with it.
Yeah.
We're very blessed for that. But I mean, as far as like logistic, cash flow, you gotta go secure this, you gotta, so it's kind of you gotta be on your toes. So she said to me, I want you to imagine that it's a complete freaking failure. Like,
Mm.
I want you to imagine it to be as bad as it can be. So I went through this whole thing. I'm in the standing in a parking lot, and I'm doing this. I'm like, okay, so I got a really good picture of the human version of me going, this is the worst thing. This is all these things would happen, and everything would be like the worst. And so once I took that in, then there was this vision of what the reality of it was, which was
Mm.
basically there's no wrong. You just did the best it was just like I can't explain it. But
Yeah.
then she took me to the other side, and she said, now see your greatest success. And I couldn't. And when I looked to her to get a picture of it, she couldn't, because it was too far out. It was like so grand. So then she said, like, 0 point. You bring it in, you're one with it all. And yeah, that was
Isn't that interesting? We're so conditioned to see disaster
Mm-hmm.
or everything that could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to our own success and our own greatness and everything that we could become, we struggle to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really when it gets right down to it, because there's been so many different aspects brought up, like be it empathic, or be it I was a doormat, or I was all these different things that twin flames, and frequencies and chakras, and meridians, and all these different things, and it feels to me like it's getting very simplified,
Mm.
and that's why I say, like, um, it just seems like it's a choice. Are you going to go with the new way or not? And the new way is not giving us any idea of, of what it's going to look like.
Living in the unknown,
Yeah.
trusting in the universe, trusting in ourselves that no matter what happens, we're going to be okay, right? Again, we're
Yes.
not conditioned to do that. We're conditioned to have, I need to know what's going to happen, come next so I can prepare myself. And I got all my ducks lined up. And, we need that security. And I think this whole last 2 years, 2.5 years of what we've experienced has been preparing us to be more flexible and to be less stuck in our ways,
Yes.
to open us up to the unknown.
Yeah.
There's so much beauty in the unknown. It's the future and the past is all right here in this moment.
Yes.
And so if you are time traveling into the past constantly or into the future constantly, you're missing the magic of the unknown of the moment.
That's right.
You know?
That's been to me. That feels very much like it's being driven home, so to speak. Like, really
Yeah.
come online. Um, but what you said about it, I don't know what words you used, but like allowing, accepting, being more tolerant or flexible or pliable, not being controlling. I'm seeing a lot of this happen just on the peripheral of, and I'm not saying like me on a personal level so much, but just in the way I see people react when I'm doing my work to each other,
Mm.
where that's kind of like on the hot seat, because the deepest shifts come from the alignment we make with other human beings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're always in judgment, and we're not accepting, what you represent. I'm like, oh, I'm not like that. But you know what I mean? So like, I see that happening. And what I really find fascinating is that we're having to go deep, 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 ultimately to our human being. I think you said that earlier. Like, the
Mm.
human has to be responsible for it, think it, say it, do it. And there's,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a bit of
And
a,
so it's about, living in the integrity of who you are.
yeah, that's very important. That's
And
very
if
important.
I'm judging others, if which we know a judgment is, if you trigger me, and and I don't go in and I don't look at my trigger because it's too uncomfortable for me, and instead of doing that, I react and I just deflect it back onto you and I judge you,
Yeah,
right? I'm in complete avoidance of
that's right.
looking deep as to who I am
Yeah.
because you're just my mirror.
Yeah, and what the other thing I think that's happening too is the awareness that you and I can have a conversation. You can say something to me. I can be totally having a different perspective and experience, just because of my own history, my own shadows, whatever, whatever, with the day, the energy of the day, whatever. So I'm with you on this. I really am, and I don't think we have a choice. And it's certainly, if we talk about what we thought was impossible, we think about flying through space and all this stuff, but being able to sustain a human experience where you take 100% responsibility at all times. Take the personal out of what comes from a
Yeah,
person, and you know what I mean. Like, I feel
yeah,
like we can actually strive to do that. And another way to say that would be, it's not an excuse anymore.
that's right. And
Yeah.
that's what I was why I was mentioning my program because everything these participants bring to me, I'm like, you are creating that. And so it's all about taking 100% responsibility about how you show up, about what shows up in your life, about how others show up in your reality, right? And
Yeah.
it's confronting because they're having to really look at their thought patterns, their belief patterns, their programming, right? This is how we get our power back. This is how we
Mm-hmm.
step back into the power of who we are, right? So when we were little, we would live in a little fantasy land, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
We just did whatever we wanted to do. We visualized. We were like, oh my god, I'm a fairy today, and I'm right, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be like that. I'm going to play with this, and we just did it. We didn't think about it.
That's right.
We lived in that reality.
That's right. Yeah, and we had I did a like a just an impromptu show a couple days ago,
Mm.
and because I was playing with this new cartoon thing we have, we're
Yeah,
making like promos. But so then at one point I just said, "Hey, who wants to come in?" And these two ladies came in, and it was so amazing. And one of them had, and they both been around a while, the community,
yeah,
but they both decided
yeah.
to step through, and they came on the screen. One of them's got her baby in her arms, and two running around the house, and she's cooking and cleaning. It was really cool. They dropped a lot of wisdom. The other one had lived in a van with her kids for like 3 years, and both of them just absolutely doing killing it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that let's see, the lady with the kids, the younger kid, she was talking about how for the last couple of weeks she'd been trying something, and she used the word imagination, and she kind of linked it to what you're saying about the childhood. So like she has this one kid who doesn't ever come when she calls him. So instead of going into the low vibration of going, Joey, get in here, you better get in here, or whatever, she decided to send her an aspect like light body over to him as a big bird kind of thing, and doing the wing and kind of moving him. And then the other one, she went up the stairs, but like on the human timeline, uh, she saw herself walking him up the stairs, and she's been trying that, and she says it's been working.
Yeah, because kids don't, uh, they don't resonate with the ego,
Yeah.
right? They don't
Hmm.
resonate with the ego at all. But even just telepathically communicating, like you were saying, like kids resonate with that,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Kids
know.
know. Yeah. Kids know.
And
Yeah.
these kids, they're such evolved, conscious beings beyond what we are.
Yeah.
And if we listen to them, they will guide us and help us become more evolved and more conscious.
Yeah.
But our job is to break out of that conditioning, that mold
Yeah.
that we've raised in.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And another thing she said falls in line with that, which was now that when she talks to her children, because I would imagine they're like 2, 5, 9, or something,
Mm-hmm.
uh, she says that she steps into oneness, meaning that she becomes them. So
Mm-hmm.
she's now listening to herself as her child, okay, and seeing through their eyes, right? So I was like, yeah, and I know it sounds elementary or too human, but I really feel like this is where the real code is being made now, is through these personal embodiments, and there's not a perfect way.
Mm.
There's just a bunch of different ways, and this
Yes.
is code. It's never been done before. You'd have to be boots on the ground to do it, and none of the Star family has been. I mean, because you have to be here right now.
Well, that's it. That's it. And it's so important because if we don't master this human experience here,
Right.
right, then we can't become more conscious and more evolved and tap into higher realms and connect with angelic beings and do whatever it is we want to do in our spiritual, reality.
Right.
If we're anchored down, right, by things we haven't yet looked at and cleared and released, we can't go higher.
No.
It doesn't work like that.
Mm-mm. Or are we pulling it all into our body? You know,
You
like there's
know,
been talk like that, like things are popping in time. You know, people talk about glitches. Um, People are talking like yesterday. I had these two ladies come by. One was Lisa Raven from England. We did a show one time. She just happened to be here, and she brought this friend from Taos, New Mexico, who was this incredible, literally like
mm,
an older version of Glinda, the Good Witch of the North.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, she sat right
yeah.
here. I saw sacred geometry changing in her eyes as I
Wow.
sat over here. But she was showing me, and they've been on, you know, a synchronistic adventure. She came over from England. The lady was finishing a temple right when the temple needed to be blessed or anointed or ceremony. Her friend arrived, so they've been on this whole thing. And she was showing me pictures just from the last week. And in those pictures, and these are clear pictures on her phone, um, I saw like clearly angel clouds, but beyond, like with real definition.
Mm,
There was an ancient face when she went through an inner earth portal. It appeared. It was very, very distinctive.
wow.
A clear picture of a ship. It wasn't a cloud ship. It was a ship. I saw one today coming into Sedona. First time ever I've seen a solid, uh, you know, cigar shape, very solid white, rainbowy colors coming off of it, moving very strangely. It was. I watched it, and then I watched it just disappear. But all these things are happening, which leads me to believe we're not going anywhere. Right? It's all
Yeah.
kind of anchoring here. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. How intense is the energy in Sedona?
I've been here 10 times. This is my 10th time, and this has been an incredible trip. Like I
Mm,
knew even before I got here, like 3 hours. I drove 20 hours, so like say 17 hours away. I already started getting the transmissions. It was all about the mother, and it's been an absolutely, you know, just constant. I can't really, you know, I've talked about it a lot on the shows, but it's been very humbling and
mm,
timely, I would say.
yeah, yes.
Yeah. But I've seen a lot of people spin out since I've been here. So yeah, yeah.
Well, I think it's. Would you say that they're spinning out because the energy's so intense there? Like, why are they spinning out?
Well, I think it's obviously it's a very sacred place. We just came back from the swimming hole. We were coming out of the canyon, and my friend who's been here 8 years, and he's
Mm,
like a human encyclopedia. He was because I said I don't I understand that the Indians never lived here, and he said they didn't. It was too sacred. They lived on the other side of this mountain in a specific canyon or other side, you know, further beyond that, but not in this area. So you know, I've had many experiences here of both um, translucent, let's just say, to physical, to I mean, interdimensional shaman. Like the first trip I came coming down a mountain out of nowhere, asking me. He told me he was lost. How do I get back to the city? It's like it's not a big place, right?
yeah,
So there, it's a you know it's to me it's like a place where there's a tremendous amount of varying energies that come through here, like a superhighway,
mm,
and but also very very much rooted in Gaia, I think. But yeah, it's like you know plant medicine, toxic relationships, life. I mean, the light's gonna flush. The mother's gonna give you what you need, even if she has to turn into Cali. You know
yes,
what I mean?
yeah.
But I don't have any complaints for my trips here, and I've been handcuffed on the curb and lots of different things.
No,
Yeah, it's a long story. I didn't do anything wrong. It was a YouTube incident. But no, I think it's because it's just a powerful place. Probably like Uluru.
yes.
Um, I saw today that because we did a show with Mary Rodwell yesterday, and she was talking about the Gimpy Pyramid, and I saw a post today or an article about Gympie is on the same ley line as Uluru.
Okay.
So
Mm.
I think they're all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So you look bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed.
Am
You
I?
look like you've been. You're. Did you go? Did you go through any type of you know downward circular? Yeah.
I did. I did. I went through a big one, and it's all always for me when I do go down, spiraling down. It's an invitation for me to dive deep and go within and do a declutter, so to speak. Declutter my heart, declutter my beliefs, look at where I'm giving my power away, right? And I I've had to. It's really uncomfortable to choose to remove people from your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? People that you love,
Mm-hmm.
people that you potentially saw a future with, and choose yourself
Yeah.
even more,
Yeah.
right? And so what I found is that's kind of been the process during this Saturn in retrograde. Has Saturn has been teaching me about where I settle in my life,
Yeah.
you know?
I think there's a lot of that going around. I think
Yeah.
and it's a bit of a challenge because you are or we are or I am letting go. And I think I've learned a lot of this. Morgan and I have learned a lot of this with each other because we've done this many, many times, and we at some point realized we're not letting go of each other. We're letting
Yes.
go of the old each other,
Yes.
the
So
old
a new,
parts. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So then a new version, a new
yeah,
connection can come in, right?
yeah. But I think
Yeah.
that, yeah, but to what you were saying, the reason I said that is because I think some of the code that we're writing or the kind of code that we're all writing
Mm.
is it's in taking the steps not to be judged, right? It's in taking the steps of your power. It's nothing personal,
Right.
and then keeping it open with that energy that is a person. Because if you don't, if you're in resistance, you're in
Mm.
resistance.
Yes.
And you can say, "Well, I've got them out of my life," but what are you really doing? Are you saying, I'm not like that person?"
No,
You
I
know what I
think
mean?
it's no. That's right, and I think it's people come back.
Yes,
People come
exactly.
back, and
Yeah.
sometimes when we are allowing, say, a specific type of behavior in our lives that we sometimes we're like, oh, that's okay. I'll be patient. Or
Right.
that's okay. That's how that person communicates, or that's okay, right? And we actually are dishonoring ourselves
Yeah.
for someone else. We're actually dishonoring them too.
Of course.
Because in me remaining silent about my discomfort and just being okay when I'm not actually okay, I'm actually allowing you, I'm blinding you of the mirror
Right. Right.
that I am to you.
Right.
Okay. And that's really can be really confronting because sometimes we want connection.
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, okay, we think we're compromising or where it will evolve or whatever, but actually we're blocking the mirror so the other person cannot see their own actions.
Yeah.
And if we really want to help people, we have to stand in our power and not in an arrogant or egotistical way, but in a really honest and
Yeah.
authentic way.
Yeah. Yeah. Being
You know?
comfortable in your own skin. And really,
Yeah.
are we are we not allowing them to mirror, or are we as the reflector not reflecting properly on the mirror? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the best thing we can do for everyone is to be direct and straightforward. We're all getting used to this because of deep patterns of basically frequencies that are untrue. You know, I mean, without being judgmental or moral or ethics, this isn't about that. It's just about, let's say, physics or science or spirit science. But yeah, and it is a bit painful because we're having to do this first. Like
Yeah,
this is a clear path to what people call ascension or raising a frequency or clearing the container. It's to actually do these things, but you got to make a choice, right? I mean, that's to me that's the main thing is to make a choice. It might take you a minute, but when you make a choice, that is a sign of your power, right?
absolutely.
It at least allows you more material to figure out. For instance, you might make a choice and go, why the hell did I do that?
Yeah,
And then the next time, it's a bit easier and you're more confident. But yeah, I think we're doing a good job.
I think we're doing all right too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all learning and growing. And it's interesting because I think some of us are really trying to embody unconditional love, right? And we're really trying to see our brothers and sisters as that, brothers and sisters, and we are all one, and you're a reflection of me. And we're trying to live like that in a world where not everyone is trying to live like that.
Yeah.
Or some people are not even aware of that. And I think that's how we get ourselves entangled and hurt and stuck sometimes because we kind of get a little bit blindsided by the fact that we are trying to live in that way.
Right. We're trying to be rational in an irrational frequency field. and
Yeah.
and another thing too, and I think there's a lot of evidence that when you try to do something or you make a wrong choice, things just kind of get corrected all of a sudden, right? Like if you keep going and try to have integrity to the best of your ability, dignity, honor, love, that it kind of there's a lot of kind of like an automatic correcting going on, like what is it they call it with the typing, auto typing or whatever it is.
Auto
But
correct.
yeah, there's a bit of an autocorrect going on, and but I think one of the other things that's being highlighted is there's no fuel left in the fire of saying, for me, to say, to even focus on other people or other groups, because something's not going to change here. I mean, and that is, it's all about me. So
Yes.
why am I going through these rhythms over here? Because first of all, I'm seeing the world through the mind that we've come from instead of 100% on myself. And we've all have flashes and we're having more sustained ability with it is is whatever it opens up to you. What you need, the timing, the synchronicities, you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you just all your job is to keep staying in your lane
Yeah.
and stepping into your
Yeah.
power. And
That's
it
right.
will. It all starts to unfold.
Yeah.
The minute you let go of a toxic pattern or a toxic behavior, or you say no more to something that's been hurting you or whatever it is, in my experience at least, 20 more doors open over here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, wow.
I've,
Wow.
I've just had one synchronicity after another since I arrived here. Just weird, off the wall, just like perfect timing, like just and it's funny because I'm not the only one aware of it. Everyone's kind of got their own stream coming together, and we just kind of weave together a bit, and then everybody goes off, kind of like a DNA strand, and then you come back. But
Like the fish that come together and then,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like something really big is going to happen after this summer.
I've heard a lot of people saying that.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about solar flash. I mean, nothing against it. Nothing against anybody. But more like such a vast shift in consciousness that we see. I think we're already seeing it, actually. We start to see real, not that we need it because it doesn't matter and we can't focus on it, but like the deconstruction or reconstruction of these pillars or these focal points or aspects of our existence, which we might say, government and religion and whatever. Like where we'll see something dramatically change for everybody. Awareness.
Mm. Wouldn't it be amazing if everyone had more self-awareness?
That's where we're headed.
I hope so.
That's where we're headed, and it's happening. Like I've been here, and I've met one, two, three, four, five, six people. Well, I'm one of them that all were called to Sedona within a day or two of each other. Isn't that
Wow.
wild? And that's not to say that those six are going to go do. It's just you see these signs.
It's like all of your six energies needed to be there for
A moment.
maybe something you will never even know about.
That's right.
You
Like for a
know?
moment. Like when those ladies came yesterday, the lady from New Mexico and Lisa Raven from England, that was very obvious. It was just like, oh, we're supposed to be in the same space. That was so obvious, and we all got it. And we didn't like get over the edge with it. We were just like, we don't have to know. We're not gonna know, right?
It's the ego that wants to know, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that's why it's so important to stay in the present moment. Because if we
Yeah.
do, we're being guided by our heart, by the universe, we can hear the messages. Um, we can see, everything seems brighter. When you go, I don't know, you go to a certain place, or in a dream, you're like, everything was so bright.
Yeah.
The colors of the flowers were so bright. That's what it's like when you're in the present moment.
Yeah.
You know?
And these colors that are showing up, these dusty pink and the aqua turquoise, these kind of like cosmic pastel colors that are you see people's pictures. I saw a picture of a tornado that somebody shared, Stephanie Van, I can't remember her last name, but it had all these colors in it. It was crazy. And those same colors came out on, I think I was doing a show or I was talking to Morgan on the still shots, or on the video too, but we took still shots coming out of my
Yeah.
back, or or there was on her
Wow.
side. I've seen them in other people. Like there's some stuff like that going on too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So last time we were going to talk about, remember last time we spoke, we said we'd talk a little bit about sexual energy.
Whatever you want to talk about. Yeah.
And I've been, talking to a few different people about this, and we were going to talk about how, we've been programmed to release our sexual energy.
Yeah.
And that if we can break that program and we can refrain from releasing that sexual energy, we can actually use that sexual energy in other ways to heal our bodies, to create, to manifest, to do a whole bunch of things with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is an important subject to touch on because it is another way that we lose or give away our life force.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
That's very true. And I'm living proof. I haven't done it perfectly, but celibacy is a powerful, powerful thing. I look at it a bit like fasting. You can effectively fast even
Yes.
one day. But I think I've talked mostly to men about this, right? And they're like, okay, well, we're going to do it, man. We're going to be celibate for 6 weeks. And then it's going to be over. Now we're going to go back to the normal thing. So it can't be like, oh, I'm going to do it for this period of time and then go back to normal, right? It either happens naturally or somehow innately or circumstantially, however you want to look, and it just happens. But I do know people that have done it that were in relationships and it was life-changing. Now, some of them stayed together and some of them didn't, okay? Like I have one friend and she said, and she was very, very close with the man. They've been together quite a while. I knew him a couple of years at the time, and she said, I'm going to go try this. He couldn't take it, and he's still in that cycle of that,
Yes.
and she is like so many of the women. I mean, she's just blossoming, traveling the world like a nomad.
Mm.
Living on energy. But yeah, I think it's. And then another example would be my friend Amethyst that I just met here that arrived in Sedona 2 3 days before I did. Was told buy a one way ticket and go there. Turned his back on relationship, everything. And in talking to him, he told me that he came out of a marriage and he went into full blown celibacy. And he made up his mind, I'm not going to enter that space with another person unless it's under this vibrational these
Yes.
vibrational parameters and the power of that. So he's an artist. I guess it's to some degree I'm an artist, and I've certainly, like all of us, we express our creativity through the construction of what we manifest. So I've seen a direct relation with it. And I think just to add to what you said, because I think you really summed it all up, is that not only are you, I think there's times, that you might have a time where there has to be some type of release simply because, and I don't know how it is for everybody else. It doesn't happen to me very often. And I think when I look back at it, most of the time it's like massive energy coming in that
Yeah.
I can't, like, I'm just like beside myself. But I think what it also does, besides the powering, sustaining the power, alignment, and natural alignments that we don't normally have because we're out of whack, and not to mention the miss or the distortion of sexual energy itself, and how that's just going to play into all of our relationships. If you're doing a bunch of stuff behind closed doors and you're hooked on porn or this or that or whatever, or sleeping with people, I mean, it speaks for itself. But I think the other thing it does for you, which is a big plus, which I'm really looking forward to, is when you are intimate with your mirror, with your partner, it is absolutely, and I have some experience with this with Morgan, it is absolutely mind blowing. Like 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 that. Like, your partner could reach over and just do this, and because his the frequency's so high and it's mutual and you're on the same bandwidth, and it's like, something's shooting out of his fingers, and then all of a sudden you just go into a wave of orgasmic, soulgasmic sensation, ecstatic sensation. It happened to us one time. We put our pinkies together. It happened. Like, so
Wow.
there's a lot of things that can happen. But what you said, I think, is really sums it all up. Besides, when you do get to that space, but yeah.
The other thing it does
Hmm.
is because where we release from, it mirrors where our heart is. Okay. So if the energy comes straight down from our crown and it travels down, if your heart is open, it will pass through the heart. If not, it will bypass the heart and move down into your sexual organs,
Mm-hmm.
right? We'll choose to release it often. But if you don't release it and you allow it to move back up,
Yeah.
will open your heart, right? More and more. And so
Yes.
that's where we can often avoid that process and release because we don't want to. Opening your heart, the journey to the heart can be quite brutal because inside of the heart is not just love, it's grief and
Oh yeah.
pain, everything, right? Um, but my friend in the Netherlands first introduced me to this concept. He was choosing to be celibate for I think he did it for 6 months in total.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we experienced deep emotional intimacy together, right? I don't think I've ever been more emotionally intimate with anyone in my life. And this is someone I connect with online.
Right.
Okay. Is it is talk about divine masculine and divine feminine together in that moment, surrendering and being vulnerable and open and receiving and giving love. It is the most beautiful experience ever,
Right.
right? And we connect through that sexual energy, but there's nothing sexual
Yeah. Okay.
about
So that's Helioscomus.
it. Okay.
I mean, you're both having sensations in the chakras. So let's just talk about because as I understand it, this is one of Morgan's things, but normally it starts in the sacral, in the lower chakras.
Yes.
And if both people come together, there are erections, lubrication. I mean, there are things that happen to the body, and this is a very old practice as I understand it. She's got some. She's actually got some meditations and other stuff on her site, zeropointing.com, that talk about it. I'm not the one to be talking about it, although I've been involved with it.
Yeah.
But this is so like it come together there in the lower chakras. There are going to be sensations to include, and this is all possibilities. I'm not saying it happens to everybody. To include, I guess, orgasm, really physical orgasm. And then, but then, if you can then get it up into, the solar, the same will happen there. The heart is very wild and crazy, the throat. And there's also the benefit of that is because what you're basically doing is experiencing oneness. Yes. And you're sharing code. Mm. And that's, as I understand it through her downloads, or, this is like going way back, but I'll give you an example. Like her and I, when we first met, we merged, the different chakras. We merged throat chakra. And she doesn't like to speak in front of people, and I do, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't write poetry, and I do. And after we did that, she went and gave some kick-ass oral presentation like that, and then starts writing poetry. So that's just an example of what a code exchange can be. But yeah, it's a very powerful thing what you and your friend did. I mean, this is, and the other thing too, and this is, I think, encouraging for, because so many connections aren't in the same physical proximity, especially with this COVID bullshit for the last 2.5 years. Morgan and I, and it sounds like you and your friend, we spent 17 months on a consistent basis doing what you're talking about. And again, there was never any cyber sex. There was never any masturbation. There was never any, whatever you call it, cyber sex, whatever. There was never any of that. Yeah. Right? But by the time we actually met, we already knew each other. Yeah. Like I could just push a button. She push a button. It's like, whoa. You know what I mean? And so there's something to that. There's a lot of benefits to that.
Talk about safety, which a lot of us seek. Mm-hmm. Consciously or unconsciously, when you connect mentally with someone and you have that mental intimacy and that emotional intimacy, yeah, and he holds space for me to express when I choose to. I'm not someone to often do that, and I hold space for him when he needs to express, and there's no judgment. It's just a full acceptance and loving experience. It is, talk about making love with someone. That's powerful. Right? Yeah. It is intimacy at its deepest, well, at least the deepest that I've ever experienced. And when I'm not okay, he feels it. Right. And sends me love. And when I'm not okay, we reach out and he's like, how did you know? And I'm like, I just knew. Yeah. In that way.
That's very interesting. You might want to talk to Morgan. That sounds like a very interesting set of circumstances if it's been going on for an extended period of time. Why am I getting lit up right now? Okay.
But you know what? It's in the times where our egos have been like, this is cruel. Yeah. Why has the universe put us so far away from each other? Yeah. In my reality.
I think we were on the same mission. But you said something I think that's really important. And then just to go back real quick, because it really, I think there's something going on there too, beyond Herioscamos, beyond these things that we're getting familiar with, these sacred wisdom codes and processes. And that is, because to me, we're all headed to total transparency. And in order to get there, you have to be ballsy enough to be vulnerable and just keep going and keep going. And I think that even though that's not like a meditative kind of, hariogasmic type of process, or something like that. It's two human beings having a conversation and opening up to each other in the trajectory of an egoless joint proposition. And to me, and Morgan and I have talked about things from here to Sunday, but I can remember in the beginning being able to go there with her like that.
Isn't that amazing?
And I can speak for myself, and even then, at the time, I thought, oh, that was a big one. But but to be able to do that, I think this is my opinion now. In this moment, that I would like, for instance, if I just use myself as an example, if I could have anything, it will, and I do, and it's everything is constantly evolving, is to refine to keep moving towards total transparency, and continuing to find ways to be more open and vulnerable, and hoping and experiencing that my partner does the same thing, like to me, and physical proximity. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to shorten myself on anything, but man, that to me is just like, that's a powerful thing, because the human, it's two or more, and the human is 100% on point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe if we were in close proximity, we would be getting caught up in the sexual experience and having, he said to me, he goes, if we were together in the same country, we would never have experienced this deep, intimate, emotional connection.
That's right.
This, like you said, this stepping into oneness in this way, right? Healing our stuff, our deep shadow, our trauma individually, and being able to support each other in this way it's been profound for both of us.
Yeah, it's not a curse, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And if there's any longevity, I know this is kind of personal stuff, but if there's any longevity and you guys are feeling each other to that degree, that's something that has to be considered.
Yeah.
I mean, we've obviously struggled with the distance, especially with this being unexpected. Now we're 15 months apart, and we have some rough days just due to the distance. But I have to say, like, it pretty much follows, I feel, the same pattern or wave that we're all going through, which is we have a little rough spot now and then, which if you really once you get past it and look at it, to me, it's becoming more and more obvious. It's pretty much always, just a powerful surge of energy that comes in over a day or two, or a gateway or something, and it rattles people. And I feel like it's, pretty much falling the collective.
Yeah. And it is that. It's a wave. Some of us are down the bottom and others are at the top, but we will always experience all of the wave.
That's right.
Same thing at all.
And it's the same wave sometimes, and sometimes you're up there and I'm down here. Like, it's like a surfer, I mean, at some point we're going to fall and then you get back up. So I don't know, there's something to that too, like what you're talking about, where I don't know how to say this, but like everything has the same charge. Like the exercise the mother took me through in that parking lot. The ultimate was, and people call it zero pointing or whatever you want to call it, but it's not carrying a charge. Like you said something. What was the quote that you said at the beginning? Be comfortable, be happy with nothing, something like that.
Yeah, I will have nothing, but I will be happy, or you will have nothing and you'll be happy, something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's it. And I know that's a few words, and a lot of people would want more explanation, but it's not a cliche. It's actually oneness. That's what it is. It's oneness because it's all right here, right? I mean, it's truly oneness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been having like Kundalini action, chakras pulsating, anything going on with the body, electric currents?
I've been having it's been more in my dream state for me
I like
in
that
the
when
last
that happens.
couple of weeks. Lots of interesting adventures in my dreams, my dream state, right? But physically, I don't know. I feel like maybe I need to go do some breath work or stand in the ocean or something because physically I'm feeling a little. It's very cold here,
Mm,
like freezing. It's freezing in Melbourne at the moment, and
mm.
I'm feeling the stiffness of the cold. Right, so I haven't been feeling as connected to my body as I usually am, and I haven't done my breath work in a while. That's why I said I feel like I need to go do some breath work. But um, it's been more of a heart. It's been more of a, for me. It's been more the heart opening stuff rather than the Kundalini at
Yeah.
the
Oh, the
moment.
heart opening thing has been crazy. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy. Like it's just been. I had a couple of days I think when I was here, and I was just like, whoa. Like I'd have to sit down because it became so physical. Not palpitations, but more like it felt like my heart stopped breathing. I know that doesn't
wow.
make sense. It wasn't like it didn't stop beating. It just went like
Yeah, yeah,
just kind of like
gotcha.
like everything just kind of stopped, and it happened several times over a couple of days. I was like, I hope I'm not getting like I don't want to leave now.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, so this
yeah,
I noticed you have a lot of books, and I read a lot of books from like 22 specific to what through like about 20 years, lots of
yeah.
books, like a couple of thousand books, and I'm familiar with Neville Goddard to a degree. I don't think I've ever read a book of his, but one of those books where they have different people. I know I've come across his stuff, and probably on the internet and
Yeah.
on Inspired, the Inspired channel on YouTube. But what is what does it mean, law of assumption? I don't recall actually seeing that or
Mm.
hearing what that is. What is that? Is that like
So,
how you create things or how you accumulate things or what?
so Neville says, whatever you assume to be true, you will experience.
Right.
Okay, so let's say as a child, I created a belief. Let's say my mum and dad were having issues and my dad left.
Hmm.
And as a child, I created this belief that men leave.
Right.
Okay, it's not safe to love men because they leave.
Right.
So unconsciously now, as I grow up, I'll probably won't even realize that I have that belief, but I will assume, based on my belief, that all men will leave.
Right.
And because I believe that, that's what I'll manifest in my reality.
Okay. I got you.
So if I believe and from that I would have created other beliefs that I'm not important enough, otherwise my dad would have
Hmm.
stayed,
Hmm.
right? All of this stuff. I'll keep having those experiences over and over again.
Right. So the
In order,
assumption is your belief. That's actually an assumption that creates a reality. Yeah.
yes.
That's cool. Yeah. That's
So,
cool.
for example, when you invite me to, or when Morgan invites me to connect with you, I assume I'm going to have an amazing experience, as I always do, and I'm going to leave elevated and happy, as I
Mm.
always do.
Mm.
And that has been my experience every time with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? It's the same with if I had an experience with someone who I worked with and they were angry or arrogant.
Right.
I'm going to continue assuming they're going to be angry and arrogant every time I
Mm-hmm.
see them. They'll show up in my reality because that's the energy that I carry. That's the way I view, through my lens.
Mm-hmm.
This, and the minute I change it,
Right.
the minute I clean up my lens, the person shows up differently.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
it is
true. It's very true.
work.
It's like the placebo effect. It's
Yes.
exactly what it is. It's a placebo effect, and that's what makes it a bit tricky because we know. I guess if I use the terms like this, we know we're shedding beliefs, but there is another word that is about believing, right? Trusting, believing, uh, like believing, but beyond positive affirmations or positive self-talk. It's almost like we're getting to the point, and we don't need to trick anything. We just need to learn the trick. And the trick is I can speak to myself and program myself. And I think these are the things that are really starting to happen, where the programming your DNA, healing yourself, collapsing timelines, curing timelines. I mean, they're talking to future self. A lot of the things that Morgan and practitioners like yourself talk about. Energy work, I guess, would be another broad term, but that's really happening. Like, there's a dynamic, and this, changing, and it's becoming very much about self-empowerment. And, I got a beautiful letter from a lady yesterday, and she said to me, it was a very nice letter. It was a letter of thanks and gratitude. And she said, I really appreciate what you and Morgan do, Soulogy. Same, I hear it a lot. I thought I was crazy, and now I met all the, and I can do certain things. But they come and they just come and go. It's just kind of spontaneous, or, it's never like I go seek it. And what she said was, I really look up to you and teachers like Morgan and so on, but it wasn't putting them on the pedestal, because then she said it was more of like a gratitude and a recognition. And she said, because in the next breath she said, I have access to everything pretty much, and I can handle, in other words, I'm on it. It's all me. So there's something like that happening, I think. There's a greater reverence. Like, she was speaking in reverence to an external mirrors of herself that could only come if she had it for herself. I guess that'd be another way to put it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like that whole thing of, people can't love you until you love yourself.
Yeah, that's it. And that's where this conversation started, when you said, because that's when I was going into, like, let's make it simple, because that's really what it is. Yeah. And it's okay if you don't love yourself 100%, because none of us do yet.
Exactly. So that doesn't mean that no one's going to come in to love you. People, the minute you shift like this much, right? This much, and you go into acceptance about who you are, about whatever, the universe will reflect that back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's instant.
Something just clicked now. This morning, God, and this is another thing, these coincidences, these synchronicities, like the timing. So this morning on memories, I had this memory came up from 11 years ago when I went on the street. This was the day I went on the street, July the 8th, 2011. So it's the 8th here. And I said on here, I joined Facebook 2 years ago. So that would have been 2009, because my wife and I had separated, and I was with the kids at home for the summer, and I had a lot of time on my hands. Prior to that, I didn't think much of it because I never used it. Yesterday, it unexpectedly became a life support system, if you know what I mean. I'm one of the strongest, but I'm human, so I want to keep writing. I want to keep on living, and so the reason I wrote that is because right before I hit the streets, I put out this. I had the computer set up because I didn't have a phone, so I thought if I'm going to do anything, I better take care of it now, because I don't know when I'll have signal. I had a laptop set up as I was about to walk out the door, and I wrote, "I'm about to walk out into this extraordinary universe, with no job, no money, no car, da 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 da. But like balls as big as Alaska, I'm not going to give up. I am soul, or whatever." And from that post, having not been on Facebook the 2 years I was on, all these people came, and it wasn't pity, and it was love, and it lit me up. But this is what you're talking about. Even though in that moment, in those moments, like in that moment when that man Todd was at the bottom of the pit, or anyone else, you can actually, that's what you were talking about earlier, choose yourself, which is love. And look what happens. Immediately, it comes back, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The minute you accept yourself. Let's say something happens and someone triggers you and you get angry and you go, wow, I'm really angry right now. That really made me angry. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, where does this come from? Oh, it comes from 5-year-old me. That reminded me of the way my dad used to speak to me when I was 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is instant healing, okay, what I'm talking about now. And you turn to that 5-year-old and you say, honey, let's say this is the 5-year-old, and you're like, honey, you didn't deserve that. You were just a kid, okay? This person's triggered you in this moment to remind you that this is a sensitivity you have, okay? And it's okay to be angry. You're allowed to feel what you feel in every moment.
Yeah.
That 5-year-old starts to let go. That 5-year-old starts to go, oh shit, it's okay for me to feel what I feel. I don't have to suppress it anymore. It's not bad that I feel anger. It's just bad how I act if I'm angry, right? Now you're healing your 5-year-old, and the people who trigger the anger within you, they disappear because now you don't need to be triggered like that anymore. And in that moment when you go, oh, I'm fully accepting that right now I feel anger, right? I'm choosing to love myself, because that's what acceptance is. I deeply accept you, Todd, means I deeply love you as you are right now in this moment, right? When you start to do that for yourself, other people will reflect it back to you.
Yeah. I think it was the day after I got here, I did a show, like the first show I'd only done like 8 and 25 days. Everything just went into this chaotic preconception or pre-birth kind of a cycle.
Yeah.
And but I had Morgan set up this couple. I don't know if you know who they are. I think it's Janelle or Jalel and Raphael. Kind of unassuming, very humble, been together 14 years, very dedicated to specifically to those types of connections, very open about all of it, the human and the woo-woo. But they said something to me that was I find really fascinating. And it doesn't have to be lovers, romantic connection only. So what they do is they actually have conversations like this, where I'm going to say to you, hey, I'd like to talk to your teenage self. And they have these conversations. Or I'd like to talk to your angry little boy. Or I'd like to talk to your grandfather man, or whatever it is. But I thought, wow, that's pretty crazy. Because if you think about it, multidimensionality, another way you could say that is multiple personalities.
Yes.
So I think a big part of the distortion of mental, or the whole idea of mental illness, is that the minute we start to think multi-Todd or multi, right? Oh, they're crazy. But to actually go the other direction, 180 degrees, go the other direction, go, let me talk to your 5-year-old. May I speak to your 5-year-old? Will she talk to me? I mean, what a and I haven't done it. I haven't actually, Morgan, I guess we do it in our own way, different ways. We all do different things. But just to be so open about it, and again, a very human thing that is potentially offering the biggest expansion or biggest healing or highest level of alignment you could have, even beyond Mother Mary downloading, no disrespect, or some kind of past memory. I mean, this is the real meat. Two people standing in front of each other. This is that intimacy you were talking about.
This is at the core of what I do with my clients, right? And when the 5-year-old comes in, you see their face. I see their faces changing.
Yeah.
Their voice changes, and in that moment, I am talking to the 5-year-old them. And it is fascinating. It is beautiful, because that 5-year-old feels safe enough to come out with me. I feel it's such an honor to be able to hold space for people to release something they've been carrying for 40 years.
That's
right?
powerful.
It instantly transforms them. I get goosebumps as I say it, because everything that holds us back as adults stems from some childhood trauma. You want to talk about multiple personalities disorder. He's someone who's had multiple experiences of extreme trauma that they are carrying around within their body, and we have not found a way to help them heal yet.
Yeah.
So we medicate them.
Right. Well,
right?
Yeah.
Every medical condition is some form of a trauma that needs to be healed.
That's right.
And
yeah. And obviously there's some people that just come into the world and they're so ET or elemental or whatever, angelic. I knew a lady that was a friend of mine's sister, and she would have been in her 30s, and she was considered mentally afflicted. And you will walk into her lounge room, and she looked very plain, but she radiated light, and she was constantly talking to angels. Oh, there's an angel next to you. She wants to tell you, right? Like this, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, this whole thing, you know what would be cool, I think, to consider? Because I'm told, whatever you do, don't do anything that's been done before. And I take it, that means every day. Like, keep looking for new. What if we actually did a show where, you know, like a practitioner like you took me and was like, okay, I want to talk to the 5-year-old Todd. I want to talk to the 9-year-old Todd. You know, like, just see what happens. Like,
I would love to.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah, let's do it.
We did a QHHT session. We filmed that, and people liked it. But this is, like, pretty raw. Like, I have to think about it. Well, you know me, at the end of the day, I'm going to jump off the cliff. But I mean, I think that's a great offering because, first of all, people know truth frequency now more than ever. I know from doing what I do and what you're getting into more and more, even though you're on a camera, it's live, and there's a certain something that happens. Like, you get put onto the stage, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's much easier to just be you, and whether you mess up or not, right? Like, that's just a better path, even though it's uncomfortable. You might cry, you might whatever. But yeah, I think that would be a powerful thing. I think it would be an interesting experiment.
I think it would be beautiful. And I think that in us doing that, it would help other people open up in their own relationships and hold space for each other too.
Yeah.
You know, because ultimately when we do connect with a lover and a partner, or a husband or a wife, or whatever it is, they become the mirror that reflects back to us all of our relational trauma. And I always have thought about how beautiful it would be to have someone to lean into that mirror with, who wanted to do the work with me so that we could heal our relational trauma, right? And you go off and you do the work alone, but if we can give people tools to lean into that mirror and heal that relational trauma together, I think that would be a really powerful thing.
I do too. And I think it could be any two people that have a level of trust, and that could be a practitioner that somebody goes to see, because really that, and I'm not a practitioner, but I've been around it enough to know that's one of the things that you see is, if I come to you the first time, what's the first thing that's going to happen? I'm going to go into a story to, kind of bring you up to speed. You're probably going to see some parts of me. You're probably going to realize a lot of things about me, because of intuitiveness. But but I have come open, and I think a lot of people, in the better scenarios, trust the practitioner. So there's already this openness. But I think two people that have respect for each other could go into a modality like that and say, let's talk to your, because that's kind of confronting.
It's very confronting. And I'll tell you why. This morning I was telling my class, because that's all those younger parts of ourselves, we've suppressed them in our shadow. It's almost like we're ashamed of them. I can't tell anyone that. I can't let anyone see me angry or resentful or bitter or whatever. And so we suppress them. But when we shine our light, when we let them be seen and heard in full expression of who they are and what they have to say, and we accept them as they are, that's when they enter into the light. We're bringing them into the present moment. We're saying, it's all right, 5-year-old. Come and be here. I got you. Allow yourself to express what it is you've never been able to express.
Yeah.
Right? And essentially all of these younger versions of us want to be accepted and brought into the present moment. They don't want to be ghosts on our timeline anymore. Okay? Because that's essentially what we're doing when we turn our backs on them. We're saying, no, that was in the past. I don't want to think about that.
Get over it.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah. You're an adult now.
I went through it. Yeah.
And it is confusing because it means you're going to have to become vulnerable. And your voice might tremble.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of my clients, Todd, they come to me and they're like, "You're the first person I'm telling," and I'm like, "Wow." Like,
that's
it's
a
such
powerful.
an honor.
That's a powerful thing. That's a really powerful thing to be able to tell somebody. Crystal Paul. I don't know. Do you work with couples? Do you work with couples?
I have worked with couples. Yeah, I work with couples. Yeah.
She works with couples. Morgan and I work with couples from time to time. She was asking. I'm not sure who she's asking, but because I think about if I think about I like talking to you because it just keeps going. But if I think back to some of the things that have come up for me as a young boy, that I'm certain of, that I know happened. I remember. I can go back to that moment. Wasn't like blockages, more like discovery. Had to do with embarrassment.
Yeah.
Really being embarrassed, like totally humiliated, and that probably came up for a reason. Right now. So
was there shame as well?
Yeah, I think there was shame, but the shame was coming because I came up Catholic. I think you did too, right? And it was like, and I was in the Mexican American community. It was just really conservative Catholicism, really, really guilt-ridden bullshit. And but I felt that different. I didn't buy into that. That took a long time to really root in me. It took like to my 20s, but the embarrassment, being embarrassed, being dressed down in front of people, right? Like I can remember like 5-6 different episodes where it was, I say humiliating. I guess that might be part of it, but really at the root it was embarrassment. It was like being put on a spotlight in a very uncomfortable situation where you just want to die.
Yeah.
So to me, that would be the type of thing, like just us talking and even postulating this. I'm going, okay, what if I actually do? That's why I said I got to think about it because I started going there and I thought, wow, I remember that, and like then the next thing would be like, how do you feel about that? Okay, let me think about it. We'll get back with you on this. But you know what? We'll talk about it. Maybe we'll do something like that. Anything that you come up with, or anyone else that comes up with that want to try something where we can actually see a demonstration. And I like things that have never been tried before, so this would be kind of cool. But yeah, if you ever think of anything, I just think that the code, like the live part of it, does something to amplify the code. Because I don't know why. It's just my feeling. It's a lot different than uploading a video for some reason.
Yeah, there's so much that we could do, and we could do a session. We could do a session where I take everyone through a guided meditation to connect with their inner child.
Yeah.
Which is something I've been doing for years, and I absolutely love it. It's powerful, and when there's this amount of people on a call, the most I've ever had is probably 20 people on a live activation. So when there's 80 people in a live activation, everyone connects. We connect all together and we create this vortex, and it's it's quite amazing. So that's another
Yeah,
thing.
those things. Yeah, those things can't be underestimated. Anytime you have, the more people you have coming together, I've seen it happen over and over and over again. Like with these groups Morgan does, that I participate in in enough of them. There's just an expansion of Hirioscamas when you get down to it, because everyone's coming in with an open heart. There's
Yes.
not a lot said, and the
Yep.
non-traditional, new way of old, or whatever you want to call it, telepathy or whatever, all starts to gain strength, and you're like, oh, this happened to me, and another person's
Yeah.
like, oh wait, I saw that, you know, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It,
I felt that too, and I felt that too, and
yeah,
it does, it opens
mhm.
us up to
And it's
understand
healing.
ourselves
It's
more.
healing. It's absolutely healing what you're talking about. I know one friend in there. Actually, I know more. I know like four that, because that type of connection has a universal healing quality. So it's like taking a wand and just. But I know like three or four people in the group that have had very substantial turnarounds health wise. Just boom,
Oh,
you know.
you know why? You know why that happens?
Hmm.
Because it's in this moment. That's when, when I said to you, we can't go higher. This
Yeah,
is what I mean. When we go into activation,
yeah,
where we are raising our vibration so high, right, that our physical bodies get a break from the ego, from the mind, from the
right,
chatter, from the clutter, from the programs, from everything. And the body goes, oh, I can reset. Oh, I can recalibrate,
right.
right?
True.
And it can have a detoxing effect because
Yeah,
the body's getting a break from all of the shit you put it through
yeah.
day in, day out, right? So that's why that meditative state is so important.
Yeah, and I think it's also too, and it could be like a Soulogy Fest, or
Mm.
we're having a kind of a unique Soulogy dance here in Sedona next week, where you get a bunch of people that come together, and I think it serves, you know, in regard to the level of what we have achieved in terms of internal work, that because so many people's frequencies have gone up, that when we come together, the potential of that gathering has those type of qualities, because there's a lot of people at the same or similar
Yes.
frequency, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's another kind of a characteristic of the results of the work that we've done, because we've done a lot, and I'm
Oh,
tired.
I'm tired too. I'm like, I need a holiday from all of it. But it's like we are doing so well,
Mhm.
you know? We
Yeah,
have come such a long way. And I think it's important to honor that because every time someone sits down to meditate, they're
yeah,
having a massive impact
yeah,
on not only themselves, but everyone around them and the planet.
yeah. Far
So
out.
imagine, so imagine when you go in and you do the deeper work, right?
I
And you
think
do the
that's
shadow.
I think that's what's happening now for everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
There's some deep stuff happening right now. There really is. There's some wild, crazy. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But really, the as far as like from what I've seen, the individuals, at least the ones I'm, will see or hear or see their you just, energy's energy. You can see the individuals' transformational, you know, arc, and they're all
yep,
kind of like coming together. A lot of people having the same vision, same downloads. I mean, there's just a lot of positive. Ooh, I'm getting a big one now. So there's just a lot
yeah,
of positive evidence
yeah,
that you know we're learning to
absolutely.
fly. That's what Elfie said.
Yeah.
Elfie, I got a couple of emails for you. People sent me. Nothing found yet, but I'm going to send those over to you. But I got to get your email. And I didn't have my phone yesterday because I left it at the house, but I have it today. So now I have your text, and that's how I'll get it to you. I just remembered. Thank you for letting me say that. So, all right. I love you. Thank you. Best to you and yours, your fam. And I'm happy to hear about your connection with your friend. Uh, sounds like a really significant thing. And
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
beautiful.
Very cool. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Oh, it's a huge blessing, you know. It's a
Will you,
huge blessing.
will you
Thank
take
you. Thank you
care? Huh?
Well, thank you for having me on the show
Mm.
again, and to everyone who's watching. And it's always an honor to connect with you and to spend time with you and expand in this way.
Well, I'm happy that it works both ways. I love this. I love my job. Best job in the multiverses.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Have
Peace
a
out.
beautiful
I'll,
day.
I'll
Bye,
see you.
Todd.
Take care.